who can come out of nowhere, there it is.
Yeah.
He comes in peeled, it gets interesting in a hurry. And I'm not saying he's winning the Olympia thing. I'm just saying
but if
he's going to jump a lot of really good guys. I mean, there's a lot of guys in that 5 to 10 range that really didn't need him showing up.
Hey everybody, welcome to It's Just Bodybuilding. I'm Big Ron Partlow. Of course, here's Dusty Hanshaw and the producer, Scott McNally. Remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, and
ring the bell.
Yes, absolutely. And remember, IamMutant.com. Go to IamMutant.com, get your ISO surge, get your all in, and everybody should get on the gear. And remember, Dusty and Big Ron are your codes. Save money. Don't leave your house. Have stuff delivered immediately. I keep stressing the not having to go see people thing.
No one.
That's just no one. It just comes to you, which is a miracle. It's a miracle. It's a Festivus miracle every day that you order Mutant products. And delivered fast.
Very fast.
Yeah. Okay. So what's going on? We got Neckzilla winning a second show.
Yeah.
So he's proving, hey, listen, that wasn't a fluke. That was just me figuring it out. Right? The condition thing. He got it enough to win that first show, and now he just wins a second show. What do we think of that?
I think that freaks save bodybuilding, and I love it.
So when he first showed up, remember us talking about him? We were like,
we're like, we'll see.
We'll see. Like, the structure's not the best. He's going to have to be overwhelming.
Yeah.
And now the overwhelming has arrived because the conditioning is getting better every show now. The last show he just won here, the conditioning was pretty damn good. I mean, what's going on with this?
Well, pull up. Can we get the video you got there, Scott?
Absolutely.
Let's let people see exactly what we were looking at, because he didn't exactly.
I saw Jay talking about him.
Yeah.
And Jay just said, there's just, with the condition that he's in.
Yeah.
There's no conditioning that can make up for the size.
Right.
He's just too muscular. Like, you have a muscularity round, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
That's the name of the round.
We were low back when he hit that. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the mass hanging off him. And look at the lower body mass compared to, the other guys are pros. They're good pros, right?
Right.
And
that's Nathan to his left. So think about that.
Right.
That's Nathan to his left. And the lower body mass just looks different. Like the calves.
It's otherworldly. But I'm trying to think. Each kind of era of bodybuilding has their freak, and I feel like the guy before him, and one of our listeners mentioned this last week, was Big Ramy. Is he like the craziest, wackiest bodybuilder since Big Ramy?
It's
Since like just a sheer mass and just like freakiness,
Yeah.
When I look at him,
the bubbles.
Like when he's hitting these shots now, when he first came out, it was look at his legs, look at his legs, look at his neck, and now it flows. Like Ramy obviously won some Olympias, but I always struggled with his physique a little bit because something about it just didn't work in my head as well. When I look at he looks put together too. And even the posing has gotten way better. You could tell his work with Cormier is really paying off, because I know he was helping with some posing and stuff. The presentation looks great in between poses.
Yeah. I just couldn't imagine, in a way, he does have that look. Like, we were to say, AI, I want you to create an impossible bodybuilder that has legs that nobody could ever develop.
Right.
We would get that. Like that, literally, like that looks like it's AI if you were to ask me. No, this isn't real. This is an AI video.
Yeah.
Right. And he's brought his back up too, because that was initially when he first showed up. That was a thing. Like, his back needs to be a lot bigger.
Yeah, good point.
So, it's going to be really interesting to see him on the Olympia stage, especially if he gets in even better condition. Because, he's been getting better every show. And it gives them, another few months to get him even tighter. Like, I don't know what he weighs here. I'm sure someone
each leg weighs 150 pounds.
Right.
Each leg.
Yeah.
They weigh him
Yeah.
in by body part. It's just easier.
Yeah.
scale.
Yeah. One piece at a time.
That's funny.
I didn't want to slide. The change they just made on the right when that guy came in, it was funny looking because you're looking at a pro bodybuilder that comes in and looks like an amateur when he stands next to him.
Yeah.
When the guy on the far right, just at the very end there, ended up next to him, I was like, oh, that looks funny almost. And this is awful video lighting.
Yeah, it's just like
And you could
it's
still
shot
see
on a
he looks
toaster.
awesome.
Yeah.
So, no, I think that he's going to be, we were talking in the last show, like, who can come out of nowhere? There it is.
Yeah.
He comes in peeled. It gets interesting in a hurry. And I'm not saying
Yeah.
he's winning the Olympia thing. I'm just
No,
saying
no, but if you
he's
throw
going to
him-
jump a lot of really good guys. I mean, there's a lot of guys in that, like, 5 to 10 range
Yeah.
that really didn't need him showing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not an advantage to them. It's
Yeah.
not. Yeah, because he's that wild card look, like not the prettiest with the best flow or the most aesthetic, but you get to a point where you know how piling muscle on a physique solves a lot of problems.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? You throw enough muscle on, and the guy has a better X frame.
Yep.
You throw enough muscle on, the waist looks smaller. You throw enough muscle on, things don't matter as much. It just gets crazier to deal with. And the guys like, how many guys are qualified for the O so far? Are we over 15?
127.
127.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's in the open, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. That 6 through 12 spot where all the really good guys, a bunch of really good guys show up smashing each other for those spots. And you think, well, he's going to fall in there.
I always
who
looked
knows?
at it, Ron, with like I would tell competitors that when I watch a show, obviously when you're judging a show, you scan everybody, but I always say it's the guy that my eyes want to go back to.
It's hard to deny him, right? The guy you can't stop looking at, even if there's something wrong with him, you're like,
Yeah.
still bodybuilding.
Yeah, that's still just a shit ton of muscle.
Yeah.
And this is bodybuilding.
Yeah,
So
it is.
if we'll say that he's probably like the biggest freak right now at that level, and if we could say that Big Ramy was the biggest freak before him, who would have been the biggest freak before that? And I have one guy picked out in my mind.
Well,
Doesn't quite stand out like these guys, but I'm curious to think if you guys.
I
Can think
mean,
of
when I think of the biggest freaks,
Yeah.
biggest freaks on stage, I think of Marcus Rule
Yep.
And jump here.
and Jean-Pierre
Ooh,
Fuchs,
yeah.
Paul Dillett.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Those guys are, to me, they were also taller typically, but I do think of those guys when I think of like the biggest freaks. Nasser for a period of time.
Nasser. Yeah.
And
He's one of them, isn't he?
Yeah, he's one of
Yeah.
them. But certain body parts like his calves and legs are bigger than
All of them.
all of
Oh,
those
yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're fucking crazy.
You know who struck me as major freak factor, and this is who I was thinking of because I was trying to like chronologically go back. There's always the
it's
freak.
hard.
Now this guy wasn't like freak size like this, but Roelly Winklaar at
Oh,
his
yeah. Oh,
best
yeah.
was an absolute animal. Like just like, oh my God, how did that even happen? Animal. And
Yeah.
he either absolutely nailed it and just looked crazy insane, or it's like, Roelly's off today. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? But when he
right.
nailed it, it was like, good God.
Have you seen him recently?
I haven't, no.
He looks like that again.
Does he really?
He's
That warms
freaky
my
again.
heart.
He
So-
looks like that again. It's,
I saw
it's
a post.
absurd.
I saw a post where he was making a comeback. Is that a real post? Did you guys see that?
Well, based on his, I mean, I don't know about the factuality of it, but based on the way he looks, yes. Because
Really?
I don't know why. I don't know why because he was not a guy who, in my experience with him and seeing him when he had shrunk down, he didn't seem bothered by it. He wasn't like a guy who identified as a bodybuilder. So
Yeah.
to see him blow back up again tells me that he's absolutely coming back because he is massive.
I think it was like 2016 at the Arnold Classic. Everybody, they come out and they do their like little 1 minute presentation and before they do the call outs at prejudging. The best way I described it at the time, and I still have that picture in my head today, it's as if it wasn't even like a bodybuilding routine. It was like a science experiment. and it's like they basically, he didn't even have to walk. They could have just wheeled him out, right? They wheel him out, and then he hits this just instantly. First thing is this most muscular, and when he hit that most muscular, everything expanded by like 3.5, 4 inches in every direction. All these veins came out, and I was like, oh my God, that reminds me like if you poke a puffer fish.
Right.
Like he just instantly, it was like this crazy animal that I had never seen before. And when you poke it, it just goes and covered in veins. That's like what I saw in Roelly Winklaar that year.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
I saw him, Scott, the first time after he won the Arnold amateur.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And they just walked him on stage.
Right?
And he was in, I don't remember if he was in a tight t-shirt or if he had a tank top on. But when he walked out, I go, what are those triceps? I mean, and, like you couldn't even help it. And you're thinking, I feel so bad for anyone who competed as an amateur against him. Because like you're getting ready for a show. You're like, all right, this could be my shot. Then you see him backstage and you're like, you know, I'm going to get a pizza. This show is over.
Yeah. Dude, one thing about Roelly is I emceed the Popeyes bodybuilding show. It would have been like 2017 or 2018, and he was a guest poser.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so, you know, I'm like looking at my cards. I'm emceeing the night show, and I'm like, oh, guest poser coming up. Oh, make sure Roelly's ready. You know, I'm sort of trying to keep the show going. And finally, I see him behind the curtain pumping up, eating, and they had all these donuts out, and he was eating donuts. He was pumping up and eating donuts, and he was very distended. I'm not gonna lie. He did look like he did not really care about when he ate his last meal. He was like, "I'm here to guest pose. I'm fine with it." Like he was totally cool. He was in like pretty good off-season shape. He wasn't crazy, but he looked like he hadn't really worried about his food for the day. That's for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they, you know, I announced him, hey, Roelly the Beast, and he comes out, and oh my God, like I love seeing the reaction. You know, I emceed a lot of bodybuilding shows for a few years there. Mm-hmm. And I still do our show every year. But I always really enjoyed from an MC's perspective, because you can see everyone's faces, especially at that level of show. Because I always do the, hey, who's at their first bodybuilding show thing, right? Yeah. And you get like half the crowd, they're at their first show, and you're like, oh, you people are fucked. Because we got Roelly coming out here, right? I go, who's at their first show? And half the crowd, I'm like, who's here to support someone? And half the crowd, I'm like, who's ever seen a guest poser? No. And like half the crowd's like, never seen a guest poser. I'm like, oh, Jesus, here we go.
You're in for something.
Yeah, you know? And then Roelly comes out, and you just look back at the crowd, you see all these people like, their faces. I always got such a kick out of that.
My son wants to do.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like, they're here to support their daughter or their son, and they're like, what is this?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Roelly
the first
comes
time
out.
seeing a human that's not human.
Oh God, yeah, and I got to do that with Rami. He guest posted at that show one year, and he was 330, and I announced his weight 330, and then I look at the crowd, and I could just see like all these people like, huh?
How's that possible?
My son weighs 175.
Yeah.
He too is 5'11".
Yeah. He too is 5'11". So that was always like a real, and that year Roelly guest post was like super fun. I remember like I got a real kick out of watching people's faces just twist and their heads tilt.
Especially when they like jump in the crowd and they get to see him up close. I've seen so many people like they have to jump up and get a photo because they're like, I don't even know what this is. Like I got to show my guys at work.
And you can tell there's like the different levels of support crowd. There's like the, I know what bodybuilding is. I'm here to see my brother. Right. And then there's like the ones that don't understand why he's a little distended.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't understand anything of what they're seeing. Like, and those are the funnest people to stare at. Yeah.
My dad's
Mind
very
just blown.
first. My dad's very first bodybuilding show was to support me, and he didn't really follow the sport. He did back in the day, like he knew people that were competitors, and they, Arnold, all of that. But then he came to see me, and then he got to watch Tricky Jackson gyrate on stage.
Oh, right. So he's kind of confused. Kind of knows what. Well, not what I expected. Yeah. Break dancing and doing the robot and yeah.
Imagine all the poor people when Kai comes out in like leather and a mask,
full
What is
S&M,
happening?
full on BDSM gear, straight from a fetish show.
Yeah.
Promoter's all uncomfortable. He's like, oh, goodness sakes.
You'd ask for Kai Green.
Yeah, came straight from the Pride Parade.
Yeah, exactly.
He's on the leather float. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I just opened up the chat.
Yes. I
Okay.
threw a chat in there myself and said, hey, guys, you guys want to throw any questions in?
Oh, it's good to see everybody.
Yeah, you're welcome
Okay.
to.
Yeah. Afternoon, gents. Okay. Yeah, I wanted to let you guys know how I spent my weekend.
Yes.
Not that, because that's the type of show we have here.
Yeah. We care.
How did you spend your weekend?
We care,
I had 2 very big concerts that I spent a lot of time on YouTube trying to find great footage of.
Okay. It's important.
The Oasis reunion show happened. I believe it was
Yeah.
Friday. So, of course, I was trying to find good footage from the Oasis reunion show. Big fan. And then they had the Back to the Beginning Black Sabbath final tribute yesterday. And it was incredible. They live streamed it. It was like 6-7 hours of, crazy list of amazing bands, kind of playing 20-minute sets.
Okay.
And they would kind of do a song of their own or 2 songs of their own and then a Sabbath cover or an Ozzy cover. And then the next band would come on and do a song or 2 of their own and an Ozzy cover, a Sabbath cover. And they would and all the bands went through. Then they had a couple of super groups where they had all these other people that were invited, kind of one-offs.
Right.
Like the drummer from Megadeth and this guy and this guitar player from Living Colour, and they would all make a super group and they would play maybe a cover of one of the songs that one of the bands had done and then a Sabbath cover. So it was just a super fun day I watched all this footage, and Pantera, Metallica, everyone was on the bill. And then at the end, they bring Ozzy out and he did some Ozzy stuff.
Okay.
And then that band left the stage and Sabbath came on and they finished with some Sabbath. And then that's the last performance Ozzy will ever do. He did it from a throne. He wasn't standing, he was sitting, but he still sounded great.
Did he really?
Ozzy still got pipes, man. And crazy, like he still sounds good. And they're all old, like they're in their 70s, man. And Bill Ward on the drums looks like an old man, but he's still just like
Just cranking.
Yeah, cranking. And it was just great, and it was really touching too. Like it was an emotional day for a lot of those guys, and it made me think too, like not everybody gets to have an end.
Right.
Most people
I'm
just
surprised Ozzy does. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, like Ozzy gets
with the
an
way he
ending.
lived. Yeah,
Like
hard.
everyone else dies early, and Ozzy gets an end. He gets to have a party thrown for him with everyone who loves him. And like also too, you hear these guys telling their stories because there's all these interviews coming out and stuff. Like, a lot of people in that industry, you hear stories of them treating people bad or, doing this or that. And like Ozzy's just loved, like literally loved, like a granddad, loved by everyone who's ever, because he is the type of guy that would take bands out on like, I'm going to make you famous. Come with me. Like he saw Motley Crue, loved them. You're going to come on my tour. Right. He was the guy that made he made a lot of bands. He made them famous. He's like, no, you're coming with me. Get on the tour.
Yeah.
And then Ozfest that happened for years and years. Ozfest was, they would find bands that Ozzy liked and they would get on the Ozfest bill, and that was their big break to get in front of all those metal fans. And it was just, makes me happy that he got to have like a party thrown for him and have an ending and sit on that chair by himself at the end. Everyone left stage and just Ozzy was on stage on his throne, and it was pretty cool. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of all that music, so it was a special day. Billy Corgan from the Pumpkins, he was in one of the super groups. Yeah. And he put up a really great post because he's a poet, he's a wordsmith, right? So he wrote this amazing post and put it up on Instagram yesterday about his experience at the event, and it was just really cool. So it was a great event, and I'm sure some of the other viewers watched it, and I just wanted to share that with you guys.
If not, they will now. I mean, I'm inspired to watch it.
Not everybody gets to have a party and then go out like, thank you,
Yeah.
Most people just kind of croak along the way.
Yeah.
especially in that industry.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You know, plus he's what, 77 or 78? I mean, Jesus. Did
Plus
you
the
know
life he's had, he's 175.
Right. It's like dog
took-
age. You know?
He took acid every day for a year once.
That's
And
amazing.
he's alive.
As like a challenge. Like he's like, I'm gonna see what it does. Like,
Yeah. It's science. It's science.
science.
Let's see what it does. Yeah.
well, we found out what it does because we all watched the Osbournes, right?
Yeah.
Son! Like, you know, we saw the state he's in. That's not just drinking.
Yeah.
You know, not just cocaine. That's a lot of acid. So
Oh, man.
yeah. He's a one of a kind. There's no one on the planet like Ozzy Osbourne.
Keith Richards may be close second in that regard. You know, we got Keith.
Yeah. It's so I love all the memes about, you know, people trying to take care of themselves and having health problems, and then Keith and Ozzy are still just like touring.
It's like defying science.
Yeah, you know. Yeah. You know, why am I wasting my
It's another
time?
sign of genetics right there, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
That's
know.
classic.
I know.
Great stuff.
Okay.
Well, on a quick note for you guys, have either of you watched Marcella?
No. What's Marcella?
It is a Netflix show that is a cop show in England. And all I'm going to say is we were like scouring around for a show, just looking. I started like 3 or 4 shows that all sucked, and we started that one. And it is the
it that
most
one?
Yes, and that's what the spelling and the way it's said is differently, but awesome. You have to watch these.
Okay.
3 seasons, and we torched them.
Okay.
Like,
Is
I
it like a
started to
mystery
wonder
type
if
of thing?
We were still in, oh yeah, and it's one of the ones where you'll realize during the first season that you do not know what's happening, you do not know who did it, and you just go, fuck it, I'm just gonna let this roll. I mean,
Okay.
it's
I
and
like
she
those
has
shows.
mental problems too that are taking place during the show.
As all good main characters now have some
No,
sort
but
of
they're a mental problem where she doesn't know what she's done and you don't know what she's done.
right.
So it
Okay.
just keeps you on your toes. I mean, I don't know how I hadn't heard of it before. After we watched the first season, I'm like, how has Raw not told me about this? I'm disappointed in him.
No, I didn't know about it. Okay, well, note taken. I finally caved. We tried to watch Fargo season 1 a while ago.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
for some reason Emily didn't like it, so we didn't finish it.
Okay.
And I just had so many people, including another friend of mine, tell me like, dude, you got to get through season 1 and realize what's happening with all the seasons and how they're different time periods. And
But they all
so
overlap.
we started again, and we're just finishing. We have 1 episode left to finish season 1.
Okay.
And it's great. Billy Bob Thornton
Oh.
is just what
He
a
is incredible.
chameleon of an actor.
Yeah, he's
Like-
incredible.
Incredible. Like, he steals the show, but everyone
Oh,
in
yeah.
it's great. Everyone's great. And it's the Coen brothers. I mean, they just make the weirdest, you know,
It keeps getting better
what a
too, man.
disaster.
The only
Oh,
thing I'll say
God.
is like season 2 comes in, and then like, you know, because it's all new people. Billy
Yeah.
Bob Thornton's not there anymore, and I'm like, well, where's Billy Bob Thornton? That was
Oh,
kind
you
of
didn't
when
know. Oh, you didn't
no,
know.
when it first came out, and then I
Right.
stopped watching because I was like, I don't know any of these people. But
No.
watching it around again, it just takes on so many more levels.
Yeah.
But I did do the same thing as you, Ron, where like I watched a season and then I was like, I don't think this is for me anymore. But then when we went back, we watched it all and powered through. Like, and I couldn't wait
Oh,
for the
man.
next night.
Yeah,
to watch
and of
another
course
one.
I know what they're gonna do, because there's been like 5 or 6 mentions of Sioux Falls.
Sioux Falls. You remember?
Remember?
Sioux
So
Falls?
like the one character's like, oh, this case reminds me of Sioux Falls, and then a couple episodes later, one of the cops goes, yeah, I remember I saw True Evil once back in Sioux Falls.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you
Yep.
know that season 2 or season 3 or whatever, one of those seasons coming is going to be Sioux Falls.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like 20 years before. And I know that that's what they're setting up, because
And
these
you know-
guys have
you-
mentioned,
Yeah.
like, oh, I haven't seen evil like this in Sioux Falls. And you're like, oh, God, that's what's going to happen there. And so I know what they're doing. I know what's coming, but
It's very
just,
clever, you know, the way it's
Yeah.
put together.
Yeah. And
And
I
it's
was also
funny.
I was told that some of the characters reoccur, but it's like decades later, so they have another actor playing them because it's
Yep.
an older person, but you realize it's the same character. And so I know they're going to move us around a bunch.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You
Okay.
will see that. You'll see that once you finish this season. You'll figure it out real quick. Actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
It's cool. And their sense of place and time is done really well, which you might not see in this season, but you will as it moves on. Like I love like a good movie or TV show that's set in a period of time, the way like Peaky Blinders was. Like,
Yes.
it
Mickey
takes
does too.
you there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's 2006. Like when the guy's on the computer, you look at the graphics on the screen, you're like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
it's 2006. And they're on the, flip phones and shit. Like, like it's
Razor.
it's- yeah. I have a friend who's in the movie business, and he said that a lot of stuff is written in that time period now, because if you allow characters to have smartphones, just too many problems get solved.
Interesting.
So a lot of people writing scripts and screenplays, they're like, we got to set this in 2002 or it doesn't work.
Wow.
That's
you could have just Googled it and figured that out.
Yeah, he'll never get lost. Like, how would you get lost?
Yeah.
It's 2002. He needs to get lost. Like, it needs to be 1997. We
Wow.
need to do a period movie, and then they got it'll be fun. We'll do the fashion and the music. We'll
we
make it
need
a 90s
cars.
movie.
We need.
Yeah. They just you can't write a lot of these stories now. A lot of mystery stories and crime stories. You can't write them now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make
Like,
sense.
yeah, a guy filmed it. Got it right here. There's a
Yeah, exactly.
100 people saw it.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got to take us back just a minute here, because we have a comment that I think you guys would like to address. So we were talking about freaks, and somebody said, I'm surprised you guys didn't mention Samson. He's way freakier than Roelly.
Did you say Roelly?
I mean, then not Roelly, than Big Ramy.
Well, so I think Samson's a better bodybuilder than Ramy. He's more complete and structurally.
Well, I mean, we didn't mention Ronnie Coleman either, so that wasn't.
Yeah,
the
we didn't
point.
mention Ronnie either. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, I think Samson is a pretty bodybuilder, and once you're a pretty bodybuilder, you can be a freak. You can be freaky. And like we talked about, he's got crazy 24-inch arms. Is
Yeah,
that
yeah,
what it was?
legit
Like,
24s.
He is
Yeah.
a freak, but he is not like
Plus-
that type of freak. He's
Plus,
not like,
once you're Mr. Olympia, then it's like we're trying to give the other guys love, is what the whole conversation's about, right?
Yeah, you're just
Yeah.
Mr. Olympia now.
Yeah, you're Mr. Olympia now. Of course you're a freak, but we're trying to show some love to the other guys. Like, who were the freaks of this
oftentimes
era?
too, I feel
Yeah.
like the true freaks are guys that couldn't be Mr. Olympia. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? Like
Yeah,
that. they're
like
just
nobody thought
too
Marcus Rule was winning the
outs-
Olympia.
Yeah, like Marcus
There's just
Rule, he's
some
outside of the
crazy
normal.
going on there that's
Yeah.
not going to work for the Olympia. Yeah.
But it's going to freak people out, especially at the New York shows.
Right,
You know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Valid.
Right down to the jean jacket and the Marlboros.
The smoking always got me. Every time I see him smoking, I'm like,
Can't be Mr. Olympia. He smokes.
Yeah.
oh, that's
Yeah.
classic.
Okay.
So I got a few questions left from last episode. I thought we'd hit some of those until we get some more in the box as well. But do you have any memories of some of the funniest stories that you had from the message boards days? Examples like, can I drink Winnie, sphincter shot, poop stories, things like those. The good old days.
Well, I mean, the funny things about the message boards back then was I remember Tom Prince used to come on and just like straight up abuse people sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Like I remember Tom back in the day would come on and just say, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Pros don't do that. You guys are idiots. Like he would come on sometimes and talk like that. Lee Priest,
Clear
of
the
course.
air. Oh,
Lee
yeah.
Priest was on the boards in early days.
Lee
He was
Priest
always
is
funny.
basically picture what he does on videos, but on message
Now it
boards,
was typing. Yeah.
Directly to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was my favorite part about the message boards, and the things that I miss is we're in a world now where on my page and your page and anyone's page, I can say whatever I want. And I'll never really take backlash because I can delete them. I can turn off the comments. I can do all sorts of things. And the message boards, if you pipe off, mouth off, and especially if you stand your ground and you're wrong, you would get annihilated. I remember I got in an argument with a guy one time, and he was adamant that you cannot prep without carbs. Your body can't do it. And I'm like, what do you mean it can't do it? He's like, you can't survive without carbohydrates. I was like, cool, tell that to an Eskimo.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I was like, tell me what are the essential carbs that you're speaking of? Because I only know, you know what I mean? And then he just got destroyed. I mean, to the point, like, guys would leave the boards after they got smoked bad enough.
It was sort of the tail end of, because you know how they say now, there's no repercussions for what you say. There's a lot of people, you know what I mean? They say keyboard warriors talk tough now, but back in the message board days, it was like the very last bridge between having no consequences and there still being a bit of consequence.
Yeah,
because
your IP was
couldn't
recorded
control.
too. And if
Yeah.
you tried to create a new account, the supermods would be like, we know this is that guy.
Yeah, it was a small enough world. Like, imagine if the Instagram fitness community had, I guess it's so giant. So let's say it had thousands of people that were double checking your posts and fact checking you. And 'cause, we got guys like, Goob, that Goob guy
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
that exposes everyone. We got him,
Yeah.
but he can't do everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But back in the message board days, the community was small enough that the super mods could handle it. They were on top of everybody.
Oh, yeah.
So you would get flagged, or you would get banned, or you would get, humiliated or something if you tried to, say
It did cross lines. Like at one point, I got in an argument with a guy on there that was local in Arizona.
Yeah.
And so he literally
Meet me anywhere.
He did. And he's like, meet me at the gym at 10 p.m.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, okay. And I went to the gym at 10 p.m. and I took a picture of the clock and I posted it. I'm like, you're not here.
Did he posted that publicly too to call you
Oh,
out,
yeah.
right?
And I'm like, I'm here. And it's like, and that was one of the differences of the days, because it really did cross over. And it's an age where it's like, all right, I mean, I'm 26. I'll see you there. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
no problem, So that part, those things were fun. And then of course, he wants to stay on there, so he's got to like, I was kidding, and you're like, I wasn't.
Right.
So no, those were great times though.
We would need Skip to really dig into the stories, because if you guys remember Skip back on Intense Muscle days, he lived to fight with people. Like, and that would be his thing. Like I can't do that. I don't want to argue with people all day, but that some people are, and I think it's affected all of my friends that were of the message board days, because they're very careful with their wording. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Because if you say things you need to say it in the right way, or else somebody's going to attack just the way you worded that, because you could be mistaken,
Right.
in that. Dante, you guys want to know why Dante doesn't want to come on the podcasts? Dante is scarred from the message boards and having to word everything just perfectly. That's my take on it, at least.
That's funny. I remember Mike Pucinella, Dave's brother.
Yeah.
Mike, the videographer. There was a stage on the MD forums, I think, where Mike and I were kind of buddies.
Okay.
And I would always see, like, when you log in and you see like the wall of like fresh posts.
Yep.
And there was this kind of like religious forum where Mike would always be over there arguing with people.
Oh, jeez.
Because he was like anti religion, and he would always be there kind of arguing with people, right? Like, where's your proof? What do you got? And so I would log in and I would see a fresh post. I would see Mike Pucinella.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's Mike arguing with these guys about? So I'd go in, and then I'd team up with Mike, and I'd like start arguing with the other guys.
Oh, God.
And it would be like me and Mike. And there was this period of like several months where every day almost Mike and I were in the forum, like arguing with people. And then I got to a point where I was like, this is toxic.
Yeah, it is.
I'm like, the only confrontation in my day that's negative.
And you're
is
scheduling
me
it.
purposely going into this forum and then finding Mike and then teaming up with Mike. And we both eventually just like, we got to quit this. We can't talk to these people anymore. So we both like, and I remember I saw him at the North Americans and I was like, hey, how's it going? He's like, hey, how are you? Like, we both had this.
Recovering.
Like, I'm recovering. I don't go in that forum anymore. Like, it was this funny period of time. Yeah.
There was also, like, do you guys remember GH15?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Everyone wondered who it was.
Yeah, there was like, for anybody who's younger and wasn't there, it was like, these are the inside secrets of an undercover pro that, like, he's telling you how it's done. And
I remember all these people thought it was Nasser.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
a lot of people. Yeah. Yeah.
And there were characters like that. I remember a couple people, and they'd come out with like a new article, And by article, it was like a long post,
Yeah.
And that long post was usually like something you never thought of in bodybuilding. It's gonna
Secret
turn it on its
interview.
head. Yeah.
It'd be like,
yeah.
and it'd be an unnamed pro gives you his Olympia cycle.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all we can't say who it is. We just say that he was top 10.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not his first time. He'd be like, okay, well, that could be 7 of them. There's 7 of them.
Yeah.
And then I remember everyone thought, well, his name's GH15 because he takes 15 IUs at GH a day. That's the secret.
Right.
Yeah.
The secret's in his name. It's GH15.
Not 16.
Yeah.
14.
It's key, 15. I saw George from the UK just posted Benny Pata, old school freak, 10 points for anyone who knew who he is. I know who Benny Pata is.
Benny Pata lived in a cave.
Yeah, definitely. Was he also a diabetic?
I don't know. That's not a good combo. You need.
No, I don't think it was Benny
need
Pata.
Refrigeration for your insulin, but it
Right.
does
It
help.
can't be
Caves
him.
are
He did live in a
typically
cave,
cold
though.
That's
on
true.
Television
Yeah.
shows.
Yeah.
Benny Pata.
And then it said Phil Viz had to leave the MD forum after he lost a bet to old man Dave. I do not know about this situation.
That's amazing.
That sounds
I didn't know about that
interesting.
either.
That sounds like it's old school. Does he mean old man Dave like Palumbo?
I don't know who he means.
I don't know who Old Man Dave is.
Yeah.
You have to let us know on that one, George.
Okay. Yeah. Anyways, hi to George from the UK.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. You got another question there, Dusty? I know that
Yeah.
that one thing you put up was
We've
great.
answered this one in different ways, but there's always a million I can think of, so we'll do it again. Now that you're done competing, what's one thing that you would have done differently in any of your preps, i.e. more posing, harder cardio, more or less food, etc.?
Gotten a lot bigger.
I've thought about this one recently because we almost talked about this a few shows ago. So I was like, oh, what would I have said? And there were some preps that I did myself that I still did really well and looked great, I thought, but I was the reason that I would do a prep by myself and then I would work with someone for a few shows. And then I maybe would do a show by myself, and then I worked with someone else. And the reason that I would go back to working with somebody is because doing the preps by myself, even though I still got a pretty good result, and a lot of people would be like, "Oh, you look great, you're in condition," that sort of thing. There was just so much micromanaging going on in my brain. Mm-hmm. The main thing about doing your own prep is just staying calm and not making changes too often. And I think now I have the maturity and the hindsight that it would be no problem for me. I'd be like, this is my diet. I'm doing this diet for 2 weeks, and then I'm just going to see where I'm at.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas like when I was younger in my early 20s doing my own prep, almost every 2 days I'd be like, oh, do I need to adjust the carbs? Oh, I'm a little fuller here, a little bit
flat.
Yeah, a little
refeed.
a little too, not quite, but yeah. But just a little too much micromanaging, and it's just too busy for your brain.
Yeah.
And then when I started, when I worked with guys like Chad, I remember when I worked with Chad for the first time, I was like, oh, he gave me a diet, and he's like, okay, do this diet for 10 days and send me pictures. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'll just do this diet for 10 days. He doesn't care what happens in that 10 days.
Right.
You'll be fine. You're going to live.
Right.
You're not going to lose muscle. There's plenty of food here. And we'll see how you look. And then 10 days later, he'd be like, okay, here's another diet. Do this one for 7 days. Send me pictures.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was like that. And I was like, oh, this is a very calm. He's not worried about something radical happening in a day.
Right.
Or it's just, he trusts the process. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I think I could have really used when I was in my early 20s doing my own preps. That's what's missing for some people is just their ability to stay calm and not, change things.
Overthink. Yeah, I can see that. That was one of the things that Chris used to tell me that I push on people who do their own preps now too, which is Chris said that he would pull up pictures at the end or if he saw you in person, and he would make a decision and then close out of your email. Because he's like, if I open them again, I might be like, well, maybe I should, and he said, so whatever his knee jerk was first to do, he would email it, hit send, and then close you out and let it go.
Yeah. Chris used to
great.
say that to me too. He'd be like, trust your gut and don't second guess your gut.
Yep.
So he'd be like, I was going to have you cut your carbs, but I'd already set the text. So I guess it's a high day. Right? He used to joke, like sometimes he'd joke. I already sent the text. High day it is.
Hey, and the reality is that, you know, regardless of what happens that next day, then you can adjust from there, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very
You
key.
can adjust from there.
I would say something I would do differently is that I would have competed more frequently. If I could have, sometimes there were situations that I mentioned before, like I'd have to schedule this time off work to be able to do a show. I'd figure out a way to say, you know, do 2 or 3 shows, because once I was in shape, it's like you're already there, and I might be able to do better, you know, because I found down the road when I had that opportunity to compete and then go back, change a couple things, and then do it again a month later, that I learned so much more than just putting all those eggs in that one basket. It's kind of cool. You know, it's a great experience. And especially for somebody who's trying to figure their physique out, it doesn't hurt to experiment like that. But there was also an idea back then that, like, you could only do it once. You could only really get that peak that one time. And then after that, you know, you couldn't peak again. It wouldn't work the same. You know, there just was kind of like like an idea that, like, once you're past the peak, now there's no, you know, like now, and maybe
no
that
going
is,
back.
yeah. And maybe it is more true for the guys who are, like, you know, really big. If you're 300 pounds, it's harder to repeat a peak every couple of weeks, I think, versus if you're a middleweight bodybuilder. A middleweight bodybuilder, I feel like I could do that all day long, just week after week, you know.
Less maintenance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mine would be having nothing to do with the stage, but everything to do with living life, which is I was extremely flexible and mobile as an athlete. And then I got into bodybuilding, and you don't think about it, but everything you do in bodybuilding is squared. You don't twist, you don't turn. Right. And I would have, whether it was through stretching or mobility movements, I would have kept all of that stuff somehow mattering. Because in my head, I was like, it's getting big. And then when you start to realize that there are, like, dumb little things in everyday life that truly become an issue. I mean, when you don't twist your torso ever, you lose something. You know, I mean, hockey, the majority of my life was twisting and turning and bending. And so flexibility was through the roof. And I found that when I would stretch, I also stretched in squared off positions that in my head applied to bodybuilding. And then you would realize, like, that I should not have let go of. And actually, after my coma, when I got smaller again, I was very aware of that and did a lot of those things. And I actually think that impacted my bodybuilding for the better too. I think when I would see my PT, I had less things going on, and I was putting on size fast. I mean, I went from 230 to 280 in like 6 weeks, you know, because my body just blew back up. But I was on it, and it was much, much better. So if I could give advice to anyone who knows they're going to get really big, is remember mobility is not just stretching forward and backwards, but movement. Because, I mean, I had none. And then, you know, I've lost some of that again. It's like, you know, trust me, when you have that itch right in the middle of your back and your wife's not home, that's a problem. And it shouldn't be.
Yeah, like I'd think, oh, I'm pretty flexible because I could just bend over and grab my toes.
Yeah.
Because that's a stiff leg deadlift, right?
Yeah.
So I'd be like, well, I can grab my toes. I'm flexible. But I couldn't externally rotate my foot to 90 degrees.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I never did that. So it's like that other stuff, you know?
Yeah. There's just a lot of athletic stuff that you just lose. And I think it's, yes, you're adding things you have to do, but I really do think it impacted me, and I probably would have avoided not major injuries, but little things. Because like you said, Ron, like my feet had to be in a very precise position to squat.
Yeah.
For my body to move correctly, because I had literally locked it into place to get to parallel comfortably and really sit into it and keep my chest up. There was only one way I could do it. Yeah. And when I was a kid, I mean, I could do that on 1 foot, 2 feet, pistol squat, whatever you need. And it was no big deal because my body was limber in every direction. So,
you know who doesn't understand that when you're jacked? Your friends that want help with them moving.
Yeah.
They're like, you're big, you know, you can lift that. You're like, I can lift in one plane of motion. If you want me to push
Yeah.
the couch, from a laying down position, I can do that.
I
Right.
can leg press your couch if need be.
But if you wanted me to help you twist and like
Carry it
awkwardly load it
upstairs.
down a stairwell, it's like
Yeah.
I'm gonna get hurt.
Yeah,
I'm not
you
taking
will.
part.
You will, because
Yeah.
you're too strong to be able to do that kind of stuff.
No, I know. I know.
That's a very valid point.
Yeah. Okay.
So I liked this one, and you brought it up on accident earlier, Ron. You have one superpower. What is it?
Oh, I forgot what mine was.
No,
Wait,
what
you
is it
forgot?
now? What do you mean? Did you want the
Did
power
you
of
have
remembering?
Yeah. Wait, did
No,
you
I
have
used to
one?
have
No.
one.
But this is a
Son of a bitch.
this is a question we went over once before, and I remember I had a good
That's good though. Now you have a new answer.
Yeah.
one. Damn. Well, what counts as a superpower? Jeez, you can do pretty much anything.
Yeah, but it's not like time travel. It's like you
Well,
have
it could be.
usable superpowers.
That's a superpower.
Yeah.
But like,
I mean-
being good at accounting.
I mean, laser vision's cool, but it's really only good for killing people and cutting open safes.
yeah, you might be able to fix one of your machines though with that, like
Might be
a
able to
little
weld it.
welding. Yeah,
Well, yeah, handy.
if you had good control.
I think invisibility would be cool,
That's the one I
but
said.
then you're just
Scott.
gonna rob banks. I think is what I.
You're
would do
gonna-
with
Whoa!
invisibility,
You're
yeah.
you're thinking this too far, Ron. Think of invisibility when you go out and you just want to run to the store real quick and not run into anybody, and you're going across the street where everyone knows
No,
you.
buy
I'm
a car.
already thinking. Order you mutant. You don't have to leave the house. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
You don't
invisibility's
exist,
cool.
which means no one else does either.
I think teleportation would probably, but then I would get no steps. I would
Yeah,
get
Ron
no
would be really
cardio.
fat.
It wouldn't change. It wouldn't change it at all for
no
me.
steps. Like, what's Ron using teleportation for? He just really doesn't walk anywhere anymore.
Yeah,
He's not using it to.
I'm
Do
upstairs
any
and forget
good.
my phone. I don't walk down the stairs.
It's
I
not
don't
helping.
he would never.
He's not helping mankind. He's not like Superman out there doing stuff, stopping crime. He's just not walking anywhere anymore.
Yeah,
He's got 0 steps. Check his phone. Yeah.
A lot of traffic. You're like, and I'm going to teleport to the gym
you
again.
Teleport to the gym.
I sold my car.
Yeah.
yeah, you
Yeah.
never need it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's classic.
Victoria is reading these like fantasy books where there's like fairies and elves and stuff like that, and these characters have superpowers. And she was asking me, which one would you want? And like one of the powers was like you could control the weather. Another one was like that you could heal yourself, heal
Yeah.
others.
Like X-Men kind of.
Yeah. I'd take something like that. I don't know about control the weather. I mean, that'd be good because I don't like it when it's too hot, and I don't like the snow either. So I'd like,
Right.
it would be nice to be like just a nice 65, partly sunny. But I don't know. I'd take that actually.
You wind up just screwing up the whole globe's
Environment's
ecosystem.
fucked,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
Exactly.
but your truck's clean because you hate rain.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll take the healing because that would be cool. I could
He-
use that
healing's
myself. I
cool.
could use it for my friends. It
Oh,
would
that'd be
be
nice. You can use it for us.
Then you have to
Yeah.
like think of others. To leave the house.
He has 5 friends. It's
You have to
fine.
get an ambulance
Yeah.
scanner so you can listen into the paramedic calls so you can go
Oh
help.
yeah, you kind of feel obligated.
Ah,
wouldn't you?
man, I got to stay up all night. Someone's going to die if I don't. Yeah.
Phew, that would be a lot of work.
Yeah. It's
No,
a
you
lot.
can't feel obligated because Superman couldn't let people know he was Superman. You can't let people know you can heal them. Because then people are going to be up your ass.
Yeah, it'd be
You
a
got to
lot.
keep it small. You got to keep
It'd
it
be a
small.
lot. I mean, you could probably get a good wage off of that too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know what this sickness costs? What if I fix it right now? No pain, no nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't take payments, but Visa does. Hit me.
Yes. What do
evil.
you use that new Affirm?
Yeah.
You know,
That always makes me laugh when
does
it's
Dusty
things like,
take a firm?
would you like to get this hat? It's also 6 payments of $4.99. You're like, what?
I don't want to talk
You
about the
don't
economy.
need
but-
the hat.
I watch YouTube stuff on how like our economy is not as healthy as people would like to believe. The government's just printing more money and this debt spirals out of control and like all this chaos that people are like, I don't want to know. And some of the evidence they look at about like, current amount of credit card debt the average person carries and all that sort of stuff. And now this Affirm thing is out of control. Like you can buy a frying pan, a $30 frying pan on payments. Like, oh my God. this is going to get rough. You can affirm on Amazon. I'll affirm that. I don't want to pay for it right now. Just affirm it. You know, $4 a month. Pay for it in
3 more payments, and this pan is mine.
Yeah. Everything is on payments. I'm like, oh no, this isn't going to go well. Anyways, I don't want to stress everybody out.
Oh, okay. This guy has a question about his post-contest plan. What do you think of this post-contest plan? I'll keep the gear in minus the harsh compounds like orals, trends, etc. Slower taper my doses down while slowly bringing the food up. I'll do the same thing with fat burners, tapering them down, tapering cardio down, leading. Goal is to get into a focused health phase 6 to 8 weeks post-show without having a bad rebound or excessive fat gain.
Well, I mean, I'll be the first to admit Scott is probably more up on the latest because he's got, you know, shows like Drugs and Stuff and Blood, Sweat, and Gear, and I think I need to tune into those. Every time I do, I learn something. But I don't really believe in like this taking 6 weeks to taper down all this stuff post-contest. I've had great success with myself and my clients. I just have them come off everything except a bit of test.
Yeah.
I just have them stop everything. Like, they seem to be fine. Like, their thyroids are fine. They just do fine. Like, just eat like a responsible person and stay on a little bit of test and just drop everything out. You don't need to taper off trend. Just stop taking it.
Yeah.
Stop. Just stop. You're better off just get all that shit out of your system. Get everything out of your system. Get off everything. Get off your cleanse. Get off everything. And just go on, stay on a TRT amount of test and eat good. And yeah, the rebound phase seems to work well just doing that. I'm just not a fan of taking all this extra time. I mean, you were already on for like 16 weeks straight for the show.
Yeah. And then you're going to push another 8 essentially?
Yeah, get off everything. Just get off. You don't have to taper off your master on. Like,
I think when people look at when they want to make sure to get through a 6 to 8 week post show and not have a bad rebound, I think that they're forgetting that the bad rebound is decided by what you consume.
Yeah.
It's not the drugs.
All about your food.
It's just what you eat. And I think too many people, there's a couple things. When you get done with a show, and if you're peeled, let me first tell you, dieting on your planned diet that's increasing slowly over time is harder than dieting for the show. For whatever reason, at that point, between the show being gone, you've had a little food, you've had a couple of meals, your metabolism just feels like it's burning a hole in you. You cannot use hunger as a gauge of feeding. You're going to be hungry for 2 months after a show if you're doing it right. I have clients that, I know you up my food, but I'm starving. I'm like, I know.
Worse than I was.
Yeah. And I'm like, I know. And you have to stay disciplined because if you don't, that's where the fat comes from. It's not all the other things. I mean, I used to literally like, and I'm not advising this, but this is kind of our era. Show's over, so is cardio. Boom.
Right. That was me.
None.
I did that.
Like, not a step of cardio.
Not a step.
You know, that stuff was out the window. Gear was out the window. It was, and then, training was right back to full blast.
Yeah.
I take Wednesday, I'm back in the gym trying to kill myself. And then the food, there was a few shows where food went back to full blast immediately as well. Don't advise that.
No.
That 40 pounds in 2 days is a little rough, a little painful.
Yeah.
But no, if you just handle the food first and foremost, and I do think, just to clarify, I don't think that you should just drop cardio, but you definitely, if you're doing 45 minutes, 7 days a week, you're 20 minutes, 3 or 4 days a week, good to go.
Yeah, that's what I should have done. I would often just stop cardio completely, right?
Me
I was
too.
one of those guys.
Lazy bastard.
Done. Yeah.
Don't have to see that thing again until 16 weeks out of the next show.
Yeah. See you next June.
I think that some people are thinking now there's a more of a popular idea, or people are more aware of the rebound, whereas back in the day they weren't.
Well, of course, you got to look good for the gram.
Yeah. Like before, it was like just the off season. Well, now they're like, how do I maximize the rebound? So I think part of his thinking, my guess is he's thinking, well, I don't want to come off all the tests because I want to keep those anabolics up so I can keep growing. I think
people
there's that.
Falsely understand what is happening during a rebound.
Yeah.
You are not putting on pounds of muscle. And what happens is, and I know you know this, Scott, but you guys, your muscle is full, and then you're up 10 pounds, and you're like, I'm still really lean. I've put on 10 pounds of muscle. No, you haven't.
Yeah.
Like, that's the biggest thing. And the way you can tell, and I used to always laugh with myself, is I'd start eating after a show. And like I said, sometimes it would, be too much too quick. And you just look like you got better and better and better. And then the next day you woke up and you were fat.
Yeah.
And you're like,
There's no in between.
yesterday I looked awesome. What the hell did I do in my sleep last night?
It's a dangerous game too, because you get away with it at first, right? You're like, dude, I ate a large pizza last night and I look better today.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I should probably cut back, but I look better, so I'm gonna go eat some tacos tonight.
Let's also add some ice cream to this. So no, it's. I think you're right, Scott. I didn't think about that avenue. Don't overestimate in any time of year what you can do in 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Plan on what you can do in a year. And the reason I used to say, I had a whole discussion with someone actually on Instagram about this, because he was set that the best time to grow ever was after a deficit. And I said, okay, well then mathematically, wouldn't it make more sense to do that 6-week post deficit, because you say you put on 10 pounds of muscle, then just diet back down again to peeled over a 10, 12 week range, and then do another 6 weeks coming off of a prep? I was like, based on what you're saying, I can do that 3 times before I need to start a prep, and I can go down 30 pounds of muscle.
Yeah.
So, and when that sounds really ridiculous, then understand that's how ridiculous it sounds the first time.
Yeah, I think it is a step forward, because at least people are thinking about it, and they're recognizing, like, I got to keep my insulin sensitivity good because I got to maximize the rebound.
We should just get fat and get blood pressure problems and everything else after a show.
Yeah, my heart is struggling because I'm 30 pounds up.
Why are you leaning forward? My kidneys hurt. Well, that's probably an issue.
Yeah.
Might want to look into that one. But no, that's a valid point, Scott. So you're right. But so keeping an eye on things, and like you said, slowly putting weight back on is the key, and that'll make sure at that 8-week mark you look great, and you will maximize that rebound period.
Yeah.
James said, Ron, I saw you on Anth and Dan McNabb's podcast. You should travel to Trojan in Bristol when you are next in the UK. Dan will be very entertaining on an episode for sure. And he said, Scott, are you coming to the UK Arnold next year? I don't know if I'm coming to the UK Arnold, but I am coming to the UK regardless, because when Victoria finishes with her project, that is where we are traveling for a couple of weeks. So I'm going to probably come to a city near you. We're going to be everywhere in the UK. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going home.
And I would love to go to Trojan in Bristol. It looks like a fucking crazy UK gym, exactly what I would expect. I've been following them on Instagram for years, and I'd love to go there. Yep.
All right, I got another fun one.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're transported through time to New York in 1974, and you can give Lou Ferrigno one piece of advice from the future bodybuilding information to defeat Arnold Schwarzenegger at the 75 Olympia, featured in Pumping Iron. What would you tell Big Lou to do over the next year to pull off the upset?
Get the gamma ray sooner. Oh, that was later.
That's funny.
That was later, yeah.
Get the gamma rays. Get those gamma rays.
Is that what it was? Gamma rays?
Put more weight on. You want to beat him.
Arnold,
right?
Arnold.
Put more weight on. I want to beat him.
That was not at all done by directors. That's just what he did every day.
No, I know. That's funny. That's funny.
So what would you give him that comes from now to help him beat Arnold?
I'd draw him up a training split to work on certain body parts. Maybe have a little more balance. Maybe get his legs up a little bit.
You're a tall guy too, Ron.
I
coached him.
Yeah, I could give him some. Get him do certain. Maybe I'd help him with his split, because I mean, he had crazy big arms and pecs, but I'd get him a bigger back and legs.
Yeah.
Adjust his training volume a bit. They're still on that 70s volume. They're on the 70s.
Oh yeah.
So maybe just adjust his training split and his volume a bit. And give them a food a diet where they're actually weighing their food.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, get him a food scale, get him a kitchen scale, the type that you'd have in a restaurant back then, right? Like no one would have one in their kitchen, right? But
That's
get
a
him
funny thought.
get him a food scale and write him a diet and get him eating on a food scale and get him on like adjust his training volume and his split. Those would be
You'd
what
be
I'd do.
a genius, man. You would be like the
Look
first
like
guy.
from
a,
the
look like a
future.
mad scientist, You'd look
Right?
like some, oh my god, how
Dude,
technical
imagine
he
that.
gets.
He comes in,
Lou's
like,
training is all
peeled.
technical.
Well, just imagine his look. Like you get him
Yeah.
just on the diet, right? And you
Yeah.
get him peeled up against
cut.
Arnold.
We're gonna cut 100 grams of rice out, buddy.
He's like, what? And then he goes, what's 100 grams?
Yeah.
And you're like, think about what you guys do at the party at the weekend. It's a,
Yeah,
it's 100
yeah.
of those.
Yeah.
So
rice.
let me ask you this, though, on that subject. If you got Lou 1997 shredded in the 75 Olympia, what does that do? Like, does he win? Or do they not even know to appreciate? Like, you know what I mean? Because
That's the question,
conditioning
right?
changes. Yeah. Like, I'm sure they'd go, what the?
Or
Is
do
there no
they
Terminator
or
in
do they
T2?
think like, oh, it's not the
lost the
Greek
look.
god look. Like,
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
it's not Olympia's supposed to be, he doesn't look as strong as Arnold. He doesn't, like, is it perceived
Does it change
differently?
nothing?
Well, just think about it.
Doesn't
Like
change
when
nothing, yeah.
Arnold back then, and they're both freaks, obviously. But
Yeah.
when they took off their shirts in contest shape, women, and men are like, "Oh wow, you peel down with veins everywhere and inside out." I don't think you're getting the same reaction. I think you get what we get, which is,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, the perception would be interesting to see.
because that would be what you would think, right? Like, we'll just get him in shape.
Would the other guys go, "Oh man," or would the other guys go, "Why does he look like that?"
Yeah. What's wrong with Lou? What did he do wrong?
And then would we ever even know who Rich Gaspari is if Lou Ferrigno gets his glutes peeled?
But if he wins, is there ever Terminator and Terminator 2? You know what I'm saying?
See, we don't.
So-
You know what?
Judgment
We're
Day?
not telling him anything. We don't want to change the course of history here.
So I have done I've done some stuff. I did one yesterday actually, but I often talk to ChatGPT because
Loser.
I'm a loser.
Because he ain't got no friends.
I don't have any actual friends, and I'll talk to Chat. So that'd be a good question to ask ChatGPT because I asked it yesterday. Paint a musical landscape, and I told it to have fun. I said, have some fun with this. Paint a musical landscape in which Black Sabbath never existed.
Right.
And it said, oh, well. And it just said, let's have some fun with this. Like, you know how ChatGPT talks.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it said, for example, without them, you don't get the new wave of British heavy metal, which means Lars Ulrich doesn't get obsessed with Judas Priest, which means Metallica never happens.
Wow.
Then you get this, you don't get Iron Maiden. You still have Led Zeppelin, but they're blues based. They don't get a metal infusion in 1971.
Wow.
Then this doesn't happen. Then you don't get this. You still get punk, but you don't get thrash because there's no metal infusion. So there's no Black Flag. There's no metal tendencies, and it breaks down the musical tree. And then it says, and without Sabbath, you don't get Sweet Leaf, which means the Beastie Boys don't sample the guitar track on their first album. So you don't get this rap sampling with guitar riffs, which was a thing. That never happens because the Beastie Boys were the first to do it. So now hip hop is completely altered on its gene pool, right? And because there's that whole wave of rap that had guitar riffs sampled into it, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that doesn't occur. That whole thing doesn't occur. So just really fascinating. So you could ask ChatGPT, what happens if Lou Ferrigno wins the 75 Olympia? We'll see what it says.
Now we have to do it right now and be losers together. Let's go.
Okay. What happens if Lou Ferrigno wins the 75 Mr. Olympia? We'll see what it says.
All right.
It just answered with how much money he gets. He gets $2,000. Maybe you got to change your questions. How does the world change if?
Yeah, and would Pumping Iron be what it was still? I mean, at the end of the day, Arnold was a charismatic character. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, but I don't think it has the same hit if the charismatic character loses.
Yeah.
And like, I love how it responds. This is a fantastic what if. Let's run with it.
Yeah, really reaffirming that you're smart.
You know, the ripple effects would have been massive for bodybuilding and Arnold's entire trajectory in life.
That's what I'm saying.
Hypothetical timeline. The myth of Arnold's invincibility would be shattered. Pumping Iron would become a completely different film. The underdog would dethrone the king. Lou would become a massive star in bodybuilding and in movies overnight. He would probably appear on Johnny Carson instead of Arnold.
Ooh.
Right? Because Arnold goes on Johnny Carson after Pumping Iron. You know, the win solidifies the trend towards taller, huge mass monsters a decade earlier. Zane's aesthetics would have never dominated the late 70s. You know, Arnold's influence on the classic shape is completely diminished. The golden era's balance of aesthetics and mass would shift earlier. Most likely, the classic bodybuilding division would never occur the way we saw it occur. Right?
That's crazy. That's probably pretty
And then it
valid,
says,
too.
if classic bodybuilding, if classic physique doesn't happen the way we saw it, that means Chris Bumstead's career would be completely changed. Arnold loses the perfect champion aura. You know, the studios become more hesitant. Maybe the accent and the giant physique aren't such an easy sell. You know, meanwhile, Lou rides the people's champion narrative. He gets more press, more talk shows, and a stronger launch pad for the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
Right?
Which
Lou
is a
is
huge
already
show
the
anyway.
Hulk. Lou is already the Hulk at this point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now he's the Hulk, the champion Hulk, the biggest, baddest man on TV. Chances are it would be renewed for more seasons, and Lou would be much more famous. He does promotional tours, possibly landing more TV roles. You know what I mean?
That's pretty
Arnold
funny.
probably winds up doing European movies. Like
Never
just-
meets the maid.
Yeah, never meets it. Just and it goes on and on and on and on, right?
Wow.
You know. So, but that's early on too. Like, who knows?
Yeah.
You know.
So you think he still might meet the maid, you're saying?
You know, Arnold doesn't become governor. Yeah,
That was great.
but I love that stuff. But you can ask Chad a lot of those things, and it'll kind of like butterfly effect it for you in a fun way.
Oh, yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
I too am a loser that asks a lot of questions.
Yeah,
I just wanted to talk shit before I admitted it. But you know what it is? I talked to my friend Rob about it, and it's like the problem a lot of people have with ChatGPT is they talk to it like it's Google.
No, talk to it
They
like it's a
ask
person.
questions like it's Google.
Yeah, tell it
and
to
then
have
they
fun.
get Google answers. So if you say like, "What's the meaning of this?" It just tells you the meaning.
And it
Yeah,
may or may not be true.
Yeah, you have to absolutely act like you're talking to someone and just get their take. And you can go back and forth. You could tell it to go further with things, go meaner, go funnier. You know, it gets to be quite entertaining for sure.
Yes.
It's
I
like
gotta-
talking to Ron, but he's not here because it knows all this shit that I don't know how it knows it. And I actually call it Ron, and it doesn't seem to mind.
Peyton says, I had an MRI today with a contrast injection. Could I still go train the same day after all that with my hip filled with fluid? I have had that done twice. Just don't train legs is all.
Yeah.
But yeah, you go train chest or whatever. That's no problem.
He's scheduled for stems.
Yeah. Is he scheduled for stems? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good. Is he getting like the American ones, or is he going to Mexico?
Yeah, no, he's going to my lady because she's doing the same thing now.
And where is she again? Where did you go, Dusty?
I went to Longview, but she's got an office in Dallas now, so you can literally get off the plane, go see her, go back to the airport, get on a plane, go home.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a
And
little
how
more of a
long?
tour
How
for
long
me.
does it take? Do they have to like make the stem cells, or do they? Have
Oh, they're not
them all-
made; they're human.
They're
They
but they already
develop
have them.
They have them, so somebody brings them, and they're frozen, and they literally, when you're there, she takes them out and like they're in a little thing. She thaws them in her hand while you're chatting,
Right.
And then bam, puts them in, and you're on your way 10 minutes later.
So the ones that you get when guys go to Mexico, the reason it takes days is because they actually harvest them from them, right? So they're going down, they draw blood or whatever they do, and then the next day or 2 days later, they go get the actual stem cells, right? Isn't
They
that the
expand
difference?
them. That's
Yeah.
what the
Expand
term
it.
is.
Yeah, these are human from like umbilical cord
Right.
style. So
Is there some laws changing with stems down there? Is that why they're getting your guys?
I
are
think
getting
they
some
already
stem cells now?
did, and then the other factor is some of these other places are just doing it for less.
Right.
Because that was the difference. Is, I mean, you could get them, but like, for example, another place I looked at in Dallas, it was 14,000 for 1 million units. I paid 10,000 less than that for 5 million.
Right. It's as it will. It will get cheaper and cheaper and
Yeah.
easier to get. Yeah.
And
you know.
Florida is the place to be. Didn't we all look at that? Didn't one of you guys send that on our group chat that Florida is they're allowed to practice? So basically, what they do in
can do the
Colombia
same.
is unapproved by the FDA.
Yeah.
And they're allowed to do now in Florida unapproved processes with stem
Yeah.
cells. And that's going to be, I think, the place to in the future. That'll be where all the
All the US people
high
go.
end stuff is happening. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
No, it was. I mean, I've said this to a lot of people. I mean, everything has changed. I don't limp. I can train any
wild,
way I
man.
want to. Strength is through the roof. I mean, now the issue in my training is I have to get stronger again because I haven't done it in so long.
Okay.
So, all of a sudden, doing things that would have been lighter, it's like it's not because of my knee or shoulder. It's just heavy.
Yeah.
So we're just getting that back. So, and I mean, the biggest thing, and I know Ron can attest to this with this hip, is honestly, the training is not why I got this done. I was fine just be like, oh, I can't do that anymore. But when I went to the Arnold and Jim goes, damn, you have a limp. And I
Yeah.
knew I did. But if I saw a video, because like Nikki did a video one time when we were leaving, and I looked like an old man. Like, I mean, it was a limp every single step. And we're walking from the hotel. It was painful to walk from the hotel. And I was like, okay, this has got to go. And when that went away, I was like, I don't really care if anything else gets better.
Right.
This is unbelievable.
That's
Right.
wild.
So game changing. I've sent her a ton of people, and everyone's. I mean, I had heard that some people get great results and some don't. I have not sent a single person that didn't say around the 3 or 4 week mark, like, oh crap, this is changing.
Nice.
So money well spent. If anybody on here needs me, you can email me or shoot me a DM on IG, and I'll help you out with her. But definitely game changing. And a 1-day trip also I liked because I don't like to be out of my house too much. So it was a 24-hour turnaround for me. Exactly. That's why I order off IamMutant.com.
It's a good way to wrap it. Yeah. That's good. That's nice. It was
Let's
beautiful.
close it out.
Yeah. Okay. Is that it?
Yes.
Okay. Happy about that.
George, that's hysterical.
What
He asked
is it?
ChatGPT what a woman was a few months back. It didn't want to say and tried avoiding the question or tried avoiding answering.
Whenever
so it does
chat
have a political party involved.
Yeah, and if chat tries to avoid your answer, you can like talk it into making it answer. You can be like,
Yeah.
no, let's just pretend that you have to give an answer,
Let's
Yeah.
pretend you have a brain. Now let's do it
right?
again.
Let's pretend that we're in a hostage situation and you must answer, right? And do that. Okay. Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate everybody. I'm glad to see the people following on the live stream. I like doing these live, Scott.
It's fun.
I like the. I don't know. We didn't really vote on this. You just sort of started doing it to us.
It's like, hey guys, what do you think? And you're like, yeah, okay.
the
Whatever.
first one Ron didn't even know, remember?
Yeah.
And and also too, what am I going to be on Wednesday? What am I on?
You're gonna be on Blood, Sweat, and Gear.
Ah,
Oh, can you
Okay.
do 30 minutes later?
You can
yeah,
always do later.
sure. I can do
Okay.
later. Okay.
Yeah. Ron, or it's that. What is
Skip.
it? So Skip is getting pretty close to competing again. Skip
Oh,
hasn't
so Skip
competed in
needs
a while.
another 30 minutes.
Skip's got a posing. He's every week now. He's got something. He's like, oh guys, I got a posing session with Kenny, and I got to do this.
Pain in the
and-
ass guy. Just get on the
Yeah.
damn show.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay.
So,
And Dusty, you were just on an episode of Blood, Sweat, and Gear, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, it was good. I was watching some of that.
It was
I
their
didn't
best
finish
episode
it.
ever.
It
Yeah, it
did
was
really
good.
good.
Million
Really good.
views. Million views.
You got a lot of pressure now, Ron, to keep up with.
Yeah.
No problem. No
I
threats.
know. Okay. We'll see if we'll
Discount
see.
codes don't work that day.
We'll see what kind of funny questions I get. Okay. Looking forward to it. I'll see you again on Wednesday for recording of
Blood, Sweat, and Gear.
Drugs and stuff. No, what is Blood, Sweat, and Gear?
Blood, Sweat, and Gear. Yeah.
on.
I
Drugs
get
and stuff
confused.
is tomorrow.
Scott,
I'll see
you're,
everybody
you're
else
such
back.
a huge podcasting star. There's such an array of stuff. I don't know what show
Hey,
you're
I
doing.
didn't ask me anything this morning, so this
Yes.
is like 2.5 hours. I am so talked out now. Some of
No,
these
I
guys watching on the stream, they've been hanging with me for this whole thing. It's like a marathon.
Oh my God.
It's cool.
Okay. I'm excited. Okay, guys, thanks for everything. Remember, like, share, subscribe, comment,
Ring
and
the bell.
yes. And remember, IamMutant.com. Don't leave your house. Just order Mutant. Gets delivered right to you. They put it right in your hands.
Even if you're naked.
Yeah, remember, that's where you get your ISO surge. You're all in, and everyone should get on the gear. Code Dusty, code Big Ron, and the Mind FK, of course, is fantastic stuff.
Save that money.
Okay, guys, I'm going to go listen to Black Sabbath for the rest of the day. And remember what they gave the world. Okay, thanks, guys. Remember, it's just bodybuilding.
I think that Iron Man was the first song that I ever learned how to play on bass, and I feel like it's probably the first song that most people ever learn how to play on guitar. You know what I mean?
It's definitely a big reason why people pick up guitars.
Yeah, it's because you can do it. You know what I mean? There's that.
And that, like, that way it opens, that big droning. Oh,
yeah.
And then the drums, boom. Boom.
What's your
boom.
favorite Sabbath or Ozzy song if you had to pick one right now to be played?
Into the Void.